Thank you. Okay, Siman Kuf Mem Aleph, Hilchus Megillah, Sif Yudalit. The Akaira Tzarech Sheyomer Es Aseres B'nei Haman. The one who's reading the Megillah needs to say the 10 B'nei Haman. Begam Tevas Aseres. That's the word Aseres too. Akov and Shima Achas, all with one breath. Right. And to let us know that they all were hung and they were killed and hung at the same time, which is interesting. But why is that so important to know? why we need to know that information? I'm not sure. The minig is to start from Chamesh Me'as Ish and then say it all with one breath. It's not ma'akiv, so if the Balkara loses his breath and has to take a second breath, it says Yatzo. And this that we're noig in some places, that the whole tzibur says Aseres B'nei Haman ain't a minig nachon, that is not the proper minig. Ela Akar levad yomim, only the Balkara says it. Akol yishmu kamay kol hamagillah, and everybody will hear it. Now there are different minhagim, right? Of why people do and do not say it. I think most people do. I think the tzibur stops. Now, one of the reasons that the tzibur should do it is because you can't be mitzi anybody with one breath. You can be mitzi somebody in reading it and everybody else is yaitza, but you can't do in one breath as being yaitza. So that's why everybody says it together. Okay, but the Kitzur is obviously not pro. When it says on that night he couldn't sleep, Achashverosh couldn't sleep, the Balkara should raise his voice. That's when the main nace starts. When he says this letter, that's towards the end of the Megillah, then he should shake the Megillah. And there's lots of other different minhagim that people do. It's interesting, he doesn't bring that the tzibur says the 4 psukim, right? I don't think he brings that here. Right? Okay, whatever it is, there's all sorts of different minhagim. Fine. Tezvav. Somebody who has a Megillah Psula or Chumash in front of him, he should not read along with the Shliach Tzibur. Because if he reads, but you won't be able to. You can't read yourself and hear from the Shliach Tzibur. And even if you're paying attention, maybe somebody else is going to hear what you're saying if you're saying it out loud, and you won't have kavanah for the kriya of the Shliach Tzibur. And nobody should listen to the Shliach Tzibur bal peh either. So you should basically, the Kitzur saying, follow along, but don't read it out loud. Here he says it. He does say it. And those the psukim that the tzibur does say out loud, then the shliach tzibur has to say it out loud, because if the people reading it themselves, and they don't read it out loud, then they're missing 4 psukim. If the Balkara doesn't read it out loud, then they're going to be missing the 4 psukim, and that was not read in the Megillah. So then you have also the case with sometimes you have where there's somebody misses all the Megillah, so somebody reads it for them. So it's mashma from here that you can't read. You have somebody whisper it in his ear, the proper pronunciation. From here, it sounds like you can't do that unless the person whispering it to him was already yotza. I personally tell people, I don't know if I'm right, I hope I'm right, is that if they don't know how to read if they missed all the Megillah laning, so then what they should do is they go on YouTube and they should put in their ear, they should put the YouTube to play, and then they should read out loud along with the YouTube from Megillah. And then like this, they'll be yotza that way. Fine. Tez Zayin. Misha kvar yotza b'kriyas Megillah v'kar l'haytzi achas. Somebody's already yotza of the Megillah, and he's being yotza to somebody else, right? Very common issue. Ibzeshu tzarich lotzis yidei ba'atzmi levarachas habrachas. If this person if the person being yotza, meaning the person being read for, knows how to say the brachas, yivarach ba'atzma, he should make the brachas himself. If it's a woman, taiv yotza shakayri yivarach, then the Kaira should read it. Now, all these are big machlokes. The Mishnah Brura says that the Bal Kaira should always read. So for men, and I think also for women, and some say you shouldn't say Lishmaya Megillah. So meaning the reason to change it to Lishmaya Megillah is because women are not chayav to read the Megillah; they're chayav to hear the Megillah. But okay, these are all machloksim. So whichever way you go is okay. Yud Zayin b'Shabbos she'ena Purim return l'tabel Megillah. If it's Shabbos and it's not Purim, you're allowed to take the Megillah, right? Meaning this week. Imagine a lot of people leave the Megillah someplace and they want to carry it home. So he's saying it's not muksa, right? Which is interesting because when the Shabbos of Purim, you're not allowed to read the Megillah because we're afraid you're going to carry it. That's one of those interesting catch-22s. You don't read the Megillah on Shabbos because we're afraid you're going to carry it. And then Mela becomes Muksa. But if it's Shabbos that's not Purim, then you're allowed to. If Purim is on a Sunday, you should not bring the Megillah to Shul on Shabbos, and even if it's in a city that's an Erev, because you're preparing from Shabbos L'chol. The easy way out from that is to read some of the Megillah once you get to Shul, and then it's not considered Hachana. Yurches Tzibur. Let's say you have a tzibur, they don't have a good Bal Kaira, who doesn't know how to read the Kudus properly. So Yachal Likra Gam B'loi Tam, you could read it also without the Nabna Kudus. He doesn't know the trup. So you could read it without the Tamim. Rakshi Ikra Satevas Karoi, but you have to make sure that you pronounce the words properly, so Yishtana Inyan, so that it doesn't change the translation. Shem Karba Makam Mordechai Yoshev. If he read instead of reading Mordechai Yoshev, Mordechai was sitting in the present tense. So Yoshav, he read Yoshav means past tense. He sat. That changes the meaning. Again, it's easy to make this mistake because it's the same. It's the same word, right? Instead of he read Neufel, he read Nafal. Ukadaima. Then afilu b'di'evet ain't a yotze. Even b'di'evet is not yotze. By the way, a little trick. I heard this from Reb Shmuel Brazil. 35 years ago. Yeah, I heard this 35 years ago, which is a chiddush that I remember 35 minutes, much less 35 years ago. And he said that the way to remember whether a word is present tense or past tense is the Hebrew word for present tense is hoive. So if the word has those nakudas, so then you know it's the present tense. So yoshev or yoshev, right? Hove, yoshev, the same thing. Haman noifel, right, is also hoive, so then you know it's the present tense. If the word would be yoshav, which it means avar, it's the same nekudas as past tense. Avar is past tense. So nafal is past tense. Just a little trick to know, at least to know a little bit of diktuk. That's about the only little bit that I know. You are allowed to put nekudas into the Megillah so that you can read it properly. Since it's a shasatchak, it's mashma that you shouldn't do it lechatchila, but if there's nobody there that knows how to read it, so then you could put it in the nekudas. And it's better to put nekudas into the Megillah than to have somebody whispering the chumash to them, like we mentioned before. The because the guy reading in the chumash, afilu hu kara belachash, even if he's reading it in a whisper, he's not able to be mechavan as das sheyishma shliach tzibur, that he should hear from shliach tzibur v'nimtza shekara rak mitoich chumash ve'ena yotze, that he could read only from a chumash and he's not yotze, right? Meaning it's difficult, but that's what I'm saying. The YouTube aids or listening to any recording in your ear, l'chayra shouldn't have that issue. And if it does happen, if it happens, then the person with the chumash is going to have to hear the Megillah again. You test tzibur shein la Megillah ksheru kedina. Let's say the tzibur does not have a kosher Megillah. Al klaf kilchasa. If it's properly written on the klaf, it's just missing some words in the middle. Since it's not missing a full inyan, you're able to eat from it with read from it with the brachas. And what's missing from the Megillah, the kaira should read it bal peh. Or somebody should whisper it in belachash, and then he'll say it out loud from a chumash. Because we know that up to 50% of the Megillah can be written can be read Baal Peh, which is a machlokes between Rav Elyashiv and Rav Chaim Kanievsky, how that means up to 50%, because whichever way you calculate either the words or the letters in the Mishnah comes out to an odd number. So you can't get up to 50%. So how do you split it? I don't remember. There's a whole deal with that. Fine. Aval im eina megillah klal. If there's no megillah, if the main megillah klal oishachasaba inyan echad shalim. If there's no megillah or it's missing an entire inyan,
could you go back and what was that last one again? The 50%? I didn't get that.
Up to 50% of the megillah you're allowed to do by heart.
Okay.
Yeah. Avalim ein megillah klal. If he doesn't have megillah at all, oishachasaba inyan echad shalim, or it's missing a full inyan, oishachasaba betchila b'sayf, or it's missing the beginning or the end. Then everybody should just read from the Chumash, and you don't make a bracha on that. So it's a big b'diavad, obviously, that people can read from a Chumash. We got quite a few people that are traveling and are not tomorrow night and are not going to have Megillas. And the people ask, what do they do? I mean, what's the brader? So take a Chumash and read from it. And a Yachid who only has a Pasal Megillah can read without brachas. Fine. Chaf. Aval Taich Shiva, Nayag B'chal Dina Avelis, and Aval who's sitting Shiva Leilenu is Nayag all Dina Avelis, but also Lirois, Kalmine Simcha, and he's not allowed to see any type of Simcha. Ach, Benilas and sound of Yeshiva Gabi Saf Salmuta, but he puts on shoes and he sits on a regular chair, because everybody sees that. That's what we would call Avelis B'Fahesia, and Purim is a Yom Tov. But Laila, at night, Yachal Lesed Minyan Lebesa Likra Megillah. If you can gather a minyan in Oval's house to read the Megillah Mutav, it's good. And if not, you should daven at home. Which is interesting because we know it's a Roiv Am. So it comes out that a person, is it better to do a favor and go to a Shiva house and not have Roiv Am, or go to Roiv Am? So it's clear that helping somebody do a chesed is better than Roivam. Meaning, if there's nobody, if they don't have, then he should daven if they don't have a Balkar, so he should daven at home and then go to shul for the Megillah. And then of course
so
those
when
that
you
say
sit Shiva, when you're sitting Shiva, you're not sitting over Purim.
No, that's what he's saying. You're like quasi sitting. Shiva over Purim is quasi. It's like a quasi
years
sitting.
ago, my father was sitting over Purim, and he literally got up, and then over Purim, and then after Purim he sat again.
Yeah, so that's that's really bad some halacha. But the Kitzur is saying it's better if you could stay home, etc., etc. But really, yes, there is no shiva. Yeah, fine. Vim chava mitzvah Shabbos yelech lebeis haknesses, again. This is done for an oval. V'tzchala mitzvah Shabbos yelech lebeis haknesses la'achar suda shlishis ba'od yom. After Suda Shlishis, you go to Shul B'Yom, Hailach L'Beis HaKnesses, L'Tfila, V'Lemegillah. During the day, you go for davening and for the Megillah. Fine. Chaf Aleph. Misha Meis LaMeis B'Tainus Esther. Let's say a relative dies in Tainus Esther. V'Laila Hu Einin Kodem Akfura. And at night, he's an Einin before the Kura. So we know an Einin is not allowed to do any mitzvahs. So Yishma Kriyas Megillah Me'achar. You should hear the Megillah from somebody else. V'Lo Yochel Basar V'Lo Yishta Yayin. He can't eat meat or drink wine, because night is not enough of a chiyuv to eat a suda that it should push off the halachas of einin. And there's a lot in that line, meaning, do you bury the mace and then do a Megillah, or you do Megillah first? So the Kitzur is saying that you first do Megillah and then you do the Kfura. Meaning this is going on the Einin himself shouldn't. But so after they bury, so then he davens and he reads a Megillah, or he should hear from somebody else. If he did hear Megillah before the Kvura, he is Yatza. But it's best if he should read it again, because when he's an Einin, he's really potter. And a oval on that day of the Kvura should not put on tefillin. The first day of Avelis, the oval doesn't put on tefillin. And an Einin on Purim, let's say the mace dies on Purim, and the Kvura is going to be on Shushan Purim, so then he's allowed to eat meat and drink wine because it's the mitzvah. Fine. Okay, so
Stop the recording.
that's okay. Stop there.